Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's topic is going to be playing to the narcissist weakness. Today we're going to talk about using the narcissist weakness or their needs against them. And this comes from a conversation I was having with a friend of mine about his successes doing basically just this with his ex. So let's take a minute to discuss this and see what we can learn and what we can glean from this, and maybe take some tips and techniques out of this that you might be able to incorporate into your life. But first, I'm Duane, and if you want to learn how to get your life back, break the cycle of abuse, strengthen the relationship with yourself and your kids, start right now by hitting the subscribe button, clicking the bell so you don't miss a thing. Okay, so we're going to break this down into 4 different areas. The first one is basically a brief overview of what the narcissist wants, the approach I used when I was going through this, the approach my friend was using, and the differences and why one may work over the other, and why, some pitfalls of actually both situations. Okay, so let's dive into what the narcissist really wants. Well, they want supply. They want to feel important. They want to feel admired. And ultimately, they want to feel like they're winning. When they feel threatened, they do everything in their power to destroy the target or the person that they feel threatened by. And the reason for that is if they're able to do it, then they feel that anything that person says will be ignored, no one will believe them, their credibility will be destroyed, so that effectively whatever they're threatened by or whatever they feel like they're going to be exposed on, they think it's like a preemptive attack. So like, for instance, if I can destroy this person so that no one believes them, everyone thinks their credibility is for nothing, whenever they start saying stuff, they'll think they're lying, they'll think they're crazy, or it'll just be one of those things where their ability to expose a situation will be severely diminished, which protects the narcissist. And the main thing to remember on this is nothing is off limits to them, and they can be both predictable and unpredictable. I say unpredictable because realistically, they do things that we don't think a normal person would do, because most of the time in the early parts of this, we don't realize what we're dealing with. That's how it's unpredictable. Where I say it's predictable is because as soon as you start to understand these people, you can pretty much guess what they're going to do and the tactics they're going to take. The hard part is that you don't really think that they're going to be as vicious and evil as they really are. Okay, so let's jump into my approach. The first thing is I fought tooth and nail to get as much time with my kids as possible. I didn't know about narcissism, but I understood the family court system, and I'd seen enough of it basically growing up that I knew that if I didn't have a good victory right off the bat, it would set a stage that would be basically catastrophic. So this involved me doing a custody evaluation and a lot of work on my part to be the parent in our kids' life. So I basically signed up to be full-time dad, even though I wasn't, but I was in it to win it, right? I mean, I was involved in everything I could possibly be in. I did everything myself. I tried to make sure that I wasn't involving my ex as much as possible. I took a lot of pride in trying to be able to achieve it. Now, I guess technically, maybe if I would have had some awareness of all of this and pivoted my approach with some of the information I'm going to talk about in a minute from what my friend was talking about, maybe this would have went differently. But we'll discuss that in a minute. So ultimately, because of this, I had a positive custody evaluation, and I think it was diminishing funds that ultimately resulted in settling on 50-50 and just guideline support. So thank God that happened. I know a lot of you are in a situation where that's probably not going to happen, and they have resources or other people funding them, so they'll just basically go down with the Titanic to try to accomplish what they want. Okay, so after that, I've pivoted my approach in dealing with the ex. So basically now I keep the narcissist at arm's length. I do not give them much of any attention, and I maintain almost an adversarial relationship. This gives the narcissist the feeling of winning, in my opinion, because I am the angry and bitter ex, and I'm just unable to move on because after all this time, I'm just still so angry. Now, the reality of it is you guys know that it's more of an act because I just don't want that negativity in my life. But that's kind of the direction that I've gone on this to try to keep this as positive or as stable as possible. So basically now I pick my battles and now very rarely engage with the ex on anything because most of the time it's really not worth the fight. I prioritize my relationship with my kids and the stability of the household. Every once in a while I'll lose sight of that, and typically I'll slip up and make a mistake, and I'm reminded that it's not worth the fight, so to speak. So basically I'm at a place where things are relatively calm. And I like calm. I like it when things are calm. I like it whenever I don't have extra little bombs falling on me and extra little BS I'm having to deal with. So I like stability. I like peace. I like things to be calm. And I'm achieving that. Okay, so now let's jump into the approach of my friend. So he learned about narcissism, cluster B personality disorders, and he even studied Sun Tzu and the Art of War, which I would encourage everybody to read because there's a lot of excellent information in there. I am not going to quote any of that right now because I don't remember it, and I didn't really go through and try to take some things out of that. But there's a lot of good information in there, and it really is applicable whenever you're dealing with a narcissist. And to be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter whether it's your ex, a boss, a coworker, it's still good information. I would encourage you to read it. I tell you what, I'll leave a link in the comments below. If I can put a card up, I don't know if I can, but I'll put a card up if I can. Definitely in the description below, I'll put that. So basically, he figured out what made his and all other narcissistic people tick. He read all that, watched all the videos, researched everything he could, and figured out what was basically keeping them going. So during this time, he didn't really get to see his kids much. He was paying a huge amount of child support, and basically his life was spiraling out of control. But then he decided to test things. He decided to try and see if some simple changes with all this newfound knowledge could make a difference. So he started giving her compliments like, "You're such a great mother and the kids are lucky to have you." Basically, he started playing to her ego. And over time, she softened her attacks, and now they appear to have basically a friendly relationship. Actually, I think he was telling me a story where a friend of his was saying, who's a mutual, was saying, your ex thinks you guys are best friends. And in this particular situation, the person he was talking to was in the nightmare, right? Wasn't getting to see his kids, was getting smeared and all those things. And he's like, no, he basically still doesn't trust her, and he basically feels she is a garbage human, but now he can co-parent with her and he gets equal timeshare with his kids. And so his comment to this other person was, well, who's winning? So I'm doing this illusion where she thinks we're friends, but I get my kids, I get time with my kids, child support's come down, all this type of thing. And, he's got relatively peace and calm in his life, which is kind of what I was talking about, what I was going for, but he did it in a different way. So let's discuss the main differences on this. The main difference is he interacts with his ex and I don't. That means he can co-parent with his ex and I'm basically parallel parenting. So the main difference is he was able to and this is a big point on this. So he was able to emotionally let go, whereas I wasn't, and I had to basically build the defenses for myself. So the big difference is once my orders were final, I had what I wanted. I had 50-50, and the child support on the guideline was as low as it was going to be. And bottom line is, at that time, he was not making the progress that what I had. Now going forward, I'm not sure what I would gain if I was to try to use some of his techniques in my situation, but we're going to dive into that here in a second. So for me, the big difference is I kind of view my ex like a drug addiction. So I've been clean, so to speak, for many years now. But my question is do I want to risk an interaction with her that could result in disaster? Basically being realistic, how dangerous is it for me to let her into my environment? Now, honestly, 8 years into this, I feel like I'm doing pretty good emotionally. So maybe I could handle it, but I'm at a point now where it's like, I don't even know what the point is. What would I really achieve out of this? So I've known a lot of people who've tried something similar to what this person was talking about with disastrous results. And at this stage, I really don't think it's worth the risk. I've seen other people who try to have a friendly relationship. They're still kind of stuck on their ex. They still kind of have that trauma bond with them. So whenever you're dancing with the devil, so to speak, it's a dangerous game. Now, to be perfectly honest, if I was able to do this and pull it off, It could result in the potential for co-parenting, and that could be good for the kids. However, after many years of trial and error, or more appropriately, crashing and burning, I'm not sure if it would ultimately work out. I've had a bunch of it. Now, I didn't quite do it the way he was talking about, but I have tried similar things, and it always resulted in just a mess. So it might, but again, it just doesn't seem worth the risk for me at this time. And it's just not, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it some more. So however, I do admire, like I was saying before, this a person and their ability to actually pull this off. So how could this work for you? So that is an interesting question. And that's mainly the reason I'm making this video, because I think the more information you have, the better equipped you are to make decisions that could potentially help your situation. So if you've made zero success in anything, then this could potentially be an approach to take. So ask yourself this: if you played your narcissist's weaknesses or needs, could it improve your situation? In my opinion, this would be very emotionally difficult to do. You know, the ex is really going to push your buttons and your boundaries. And that's where I think the risk really is. So just to be clear, just to be clear on this with the person I'm talking about, he didn't kiss his ex's butt. He didn't put her on a pedestal. He didn't basically like, oh my God, you're so awesome. That wasn't what he did. He still had boundaries, but then he targeted comments and gestures to feed her targeted supply. Basically, he used what she wanted to get what he wanted. So let me know if you want to know more information on this, and maybe I can try to encourage this person to do a podcast with me so we could really deep dive in the specifics on that. And I tell you what, if there's some questions you would like me to ask, so I could encourage him to come on, and then I could also ask some questions, put those in the comments below. If you're struggling with the emotional side of this and you need some help, consider booking some time with me at my website, dadsurvivingdivorce.com/coaching, and we can deep dive into your specific situation, and maybe I can get you on track to where you're more in a better position to maybe even potentially try to do some of these things, and we can discuss that more later. So bottom line, there are many ways to approach our situations. For the most part, all-out war is not a great option unless you have done some serious, or unless if you've had some serious successes right from the start. I think it's not a bad approach, right? To basically go to war in the beginning parts of this, because that's where you get the most gains, right? I mean, if you start getting knocked back on your heels and you're constantly losing, you have to rethink it. But you know, starting out strong is really important in these things too. So there might be a way for us to use our knowledge of narcissism to achieve more gains. In a lot of ways, what I'm doing is similar to what this person was talking about, because I'm feeding her the appearance of a victory. And just to be clear on that, that was really tough for me. In the beginning parts of this, anytime that I thought that she was winning, I wanted to prove her wrong. I wanted to make damn sure that she didn't think she was winning. I've pivoted on that, and now I don't care, because what she thinks is of little to no concern for me. And if she feels like she's getting a victory, I don't care. If that keeps the dogs at bay and that keeps child support services off my behind and it keeps me out of court, then it's worth it. So obviously the other person is doing this in a different way, and he's had some tremendous successes on that. So I'm curious, what do you think about this? Have you used some of your knowledge with the specifics of your ex to your advantage? Have you tried this or something similar, and was it a disaster? Or have you done something else that was successful for you? Let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to hear your experience with this. So on that, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you appreciated this discussion. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. If you know somebody else who could potentially benefit from this, share it with them, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye.